Good evening, you're watching AWANI Tonight with me, Farhana Sheikh. The Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, MACC, has recovered more than $4.83 million in 1MDB assets between 2023 and February 2024. According to the MACC, the funds were recovered through court orders and the voluntary surrender of assets.
The anti-graft agency said it recovered 1MDB assets both domestically and internationally through cooperation with the 1MDB Asset Recovery Task Force and foreign agencies, among others. Between 2019 to February 2024, a total of 29.03 billion ringgit in 1MDB assets have been recovered, added the agency. Malaysian and US investigators estimate at least $4.5 billion was stolen from 1MDB, implicating former Malaysian Prime Minister Datuk Seri Najib Razak, Goldman Sachs and high-level officials elsewhere. Najib was sentenced to 12 years in prison in August 2022 after being convicted on 7 counts of abuse of power, money laundering and criminal breach of trust involving 42 million ringgit in funds belonging to SRC International, a former 1MDB subsidiary. However, last week, Malaysia's Pardons Board announced that his 12-year sentence in that case had been halved and his fine slashed from 210 million to 50 million ringgit.
Kereta Api Tanah Melayu Berhad KTMB has launched its open payment system, now available at 80 stations in the Klang Valley and Northern Peninsula. According to Transport Minister Anthony Loh, the new system allows passengers to pay using e-wallets or debit and credit cards at all automated checkpoints.
Transactions under the open payment system will be completed within 1 to 5 seconds and will only apply to commuter services. Separately, Lok said discussions are in place with KTMB to consider offering interstate express train services outside of festive seasons. He is currently discussing the matter with KTMB and hopes to launch the service soon. Lok added that the target with KTMB was to provide at least 1 or 2 express train services per day to encourage the use of public transport.
Tendering discussions for the multi-lane free-flow MLFF project are still ongoing, says Datuk Seri Alexander Nantalinggi. According to the Works Minister, bidders will have until the end of this year to discuss with concessionaries and other stakeholders to participate in the project. Alexander, however, did not reveal who the bidders for the project were. The Works Ministry announced on March 30th last year that it had allocated 3.4 billion ringgit for the implementation of the MLFF toll collection system by 2025 to overcome and reduce congestion on highways. Earlier, Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said the government would review the awarding of the contract for the project to ensure it was carried out properly and transparently. The Public Accounts Committee has also agreed to initiate proceedings on the project and will summon representatives from the Works Ministry and the Malaysian Highways Authority to explain the implementation of the MLFF system. The government will boost efforts to address school dropout issues among secondary students, said Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ahmad Zahid Hamidi. Chairing the National Social Council meeting earlier today, Zahid says among the reasons students dropped out of school were either because they were working or they had financial or family issues. The Education Ministry identified 0.8% of secondary students, or 14,506, dropped out last year. Zahid said among the measures to address the issue include increasing awareness on the importance of education until obtaining Sijil Pelajaran Malaysia SPM, providing vocational training centres and counselling services to parents and guardians to ensure children under their care continue schooling. He said the government will also look into helping financially strapped families and providing financial aid to students based on their needs. Meanwhile, the government also plans to introduce HIV prevention, control and treatment programs among the youth. Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ahmad Zahid Hamidi says those between the ages of 20 and 39 are most affected by the virus.
Zahid's statement came after he chaired the National Social Council meeting today. Among the council's plans were the establishment of shelters run by government agencies or non-governmental organizations to provide aftercare for people living with HIV and AIDS. It would also introduce HIV self-screening initiatives to expand access to high-risk groups and improve the reproductive and social health education curriculum. In November last year, then Health Minister Dr. Zaliha Mustafa revealed that an average of 8 people in Malaysia were infected with HIV every day.
In other news, the Domestic Trade and Cost of Living Ministry is deploying 2,200 enforcement officers and 900 price monitors nationwide during the festive season. Its Deputy Minister Fuzia Saleh said they have been assigned to strategic locations to ensure that all parties comply with the prices of goods that are gazetted.
Fuzia said penalties for offences include fines up to 100,000 ringgit, and imprisonment up to 3 years for individuals and fines up to 500,000 ringgit for companies. The Chinese New Year festive season maximum price scheme will be implemented nationwide from February 6 to 14th. It would involve 11 controlled items, including white prawns, white pomfret, live farm pigs, pork belly, meat and fat, imported potatoes, garlic, white radish, ginger and red radish.
We'll go for a quick break. Stay tuned for more.
Kekasih terulung Asia berjuang demi satu matlamat. Di sini, semuanya menjadi pertaruhan.
Oh, itu istimewa! Itu cukup istimewa! Cubaan cantik!
Penat lelah demi takhta terbilang.
Waktu terbaik untuk membuka panggung di Qatar.
Piala Asia Qatar 2023, kesemua 51 perlawanan secara langsung di Astro.
Welcome back. Less than a week until Indonesians go to the polls to elect their next president. Political campaigning is in full swing as candidates battle for the hearts and minds of the public. For a snapshot of the ongoing campaign, we head to Jakarta with Astro AWANI editor Ehsan Yahya. Ehsan, what do you have for us?
All right, thank you, Farhana. As we approach the climax of the 2024 general election in Indonesia, the focus is on the final presidential campaign rallies set on February 10 here. The pair of Anies Mohaimin will rally supporters at the Jakarta International Stadium in North Jakarta, while the favourites Prabowo Gibran will make their final pitch at the Gelora Bung Karno Stadium in central Jakarta. Meanwhile, Ganjar Mahfud will be relaying their base in central Java. After spending 4 days here speaking to the local academics, that I have discovered the key issues affecting them are not that far from what is affecting us in Malaysia. Issues such as the cost of living, development and economic policies are dominating their campaigns as each candidate seeks to win majority support from the 204 million voters registered. But it's not just traditional rallies that are shaping the narrative. Social media has also become a battleground for spreading campaign message and influencing public opinion. Prabowo Gibran remain as the leading pair based on current polling numbers, while it's too close to call for the remaining 2 pairs. With just days left until voters head to the polls on February 14, the big question remains: who will lead Indonesia into the future as its next president? Stay tuned for the further updates as we bring you the latest development from the heart of Indonesia. This is Ehsan Yahya reporting alongside Fauzi Zain, keeping you informed on Pemilu 2024. That is all from me. Back to you in studio.
Right. Increasing disparity among the classes of society are at the heart of every economic challenge that any government faces. With the upcoming Indonesian presidential elections, how should the candidates view the mammoth task of managing the country's economy? AWANI editor Ehsan Yahya earlier also spoke to Margianta SJD, founder of Emancipate Indonesia.
Of course, increasing income is a very important issue to be addressed because the wage disparity in Indonesia is very high. People working in the urban areas and in the rural areas, they do the same amount of work but have different kinds of wages. The wage standard minimum in Indonesia needs to be worked. We need to have a better formula to determine the wage for Indonesian working class. Especially in regards to their how decent of their living is. Yeah. I think so. It is one of the issues that needs to be addressed in order to solve inequality in Indonesia. Is of course a wage disparity, and of course increasing the income could be the goal. And this could be achieved as well, of course, through creating more jobs, and not only jobs but also good paying union, decent jobs, and also environmentally friendly jobs as well for Indonesian working class, to have more purchasing power as well and keep the economy running, of course.
Now, Pakistan has temporarily suspended mobile phone services across the country as voters in the world's fifth most populous nation head to the polls. The Interior Ministry said the move was justified, citing recent terrorist attacks in the country. In the latest such incidents, 28 people were killed in 2 explosions near the offices of election candidates in Balochistan province on Wednesday. The country is on high alert with heavy security presence at polling stations across the country. The borders with Iran and Afghanistan have been temporarily closed to facilitate a peaceful election. Pollsters have predicted a low turnout among the country's 128 million eligible voters amid a deep economic crisis and a highly polarized political environment. The election comes almost 2 years after former Prime Minister Imran Khan was ousted in a no-confidence vote. The Pakistan Muslim League is expected to win the most seats, with analysts saying its 74-year-old founder, Nawaz Sharif, has the blessings of the generals. Polls closed at 5 p.m. local time. It is unclear how soon the results will be announced, but they must be released within 2 weeks of the vote. Global warming has exceeded 1.5 degrees Celsius across an entire year for the first time on record. Europe's climate monitor says the extremes have also continued in 2024, with temperatures in January recording 1.52 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. World leaders had pledged in 2015 to limit long-term temperature rises to 1.5 degrees Celsius, seen as a crucial step to avoid the most damaging effects of climate change. The year-long breach does not break the landmark Paris Agreement, but scientists say it would take the world closer to doing so in the long term. The world has seen extreme weather conditions in recent months, including devastating droughts in the Amazon, wildfires in South America, and record rainfall in California. Last month was the hottest January on record, according to Copernicus Climate Change Service, making it the 8th consecutive month with historically high monthly temperatures. That wraps up AWANI Tonight. I'm Farhana Sheikh. Thank you for watching.
Hai adik-adik, jom belajar cara melintas jalan. Lihat kiri, kanan, kiri sebelum melintas. Membantu pelajar melintas dan pastikan pelajar selamat sampai. Jangan tiru pemanduan seperti ini. Contohi pemanduan dan peraturan dengan berhemah.